Alright, so in this example, we're going to continue rationalizing, but what's different about this problem is that the denominator is no longer one term. It's now two terms. So that means that we actually have a parenthesis here. We have one expression, 3 radical 2 plus 4. Okay? So we have to treat this as one unit, kind of. Alright, so when we have a binomial in the denominator, the way that we rationalize is a little bit different, and it actually has a different name. We call it conjugating. So I'm going to conjugate the denominator. Alright, and so what I want to do is I want to find something that I can multiply by that will completely get rid of all of the radicals in my answer. So the trick to this is that you write down the same binomial, but with the opposite sign. Alright, so these numbers do not necessarily change sign. So for example, if this was like a negative 3 radical 2, it would still be a negative 3 radical 2 here. The only thing that changes is this sign in the middle. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply by 3 radical 2 minus 4. And you're going to see why. Things are going to start canceling out very nicely. So if I do that to the denominator, once again, I have to do that to the numerator. Okay? So let's go ahead and start distributing. So I'm going to do 2 times 3 radical 2. So that's a coefficient and that's a coefficient. So those multiply and I get 6 radical 2. Then I have 2 times negative 4, and that's a negative 8. Okay? That's all we can do because these are not like terms, right? This one doesn't have a radical 2 on it, so I can't combine them. I can't do 6 minus 8. So I'm going to leave that just that way for now. Now in the denominator, I'm going to multiply. So I'm going to rewrite this over here on the side just so that we can see it a little bit better. I'm writing down both of those denominators, right? I'm going to multiply this times that, which is what I have here. So 3 radical 2 times 3 radical 2. Well, 3 times 3 is 9. And radical 2 times radical 2 is radical 4. And the square root of 4 is 2. So things are looking pretty good so far because no radicals. So this equals 18. Alright. Next I'm going to do 3 radical 2 times negative 4. So I'm going to do the coefficients. 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. And then radical 2, there's nothing to multiply it by, so I have a radical 2. Alright, so we have a radical, but hold on one second, you'll see it's going to go away really quickly. Next I'm going to do 4 times 3 radical 2, so 4 times 3 is 12. And then I have nothing to multiply that radical 2 by, so radical 2. Alright, and then lastly we have 4 times negative 4, which is negative 16. So I'm going to go ahead and put all this together. So I have 18 minus 12 radical 2 plus 12 radical 2 minus 16. Okay, so that's everything I got here when I distributed. So hopefully you notice that these two terms in the middle are exact opposites of each other. They're like terms. And so when I do negative 12 plus 12 with those radical 2's, that equals 0. Well, 0 radical 2's is 0. They're gone. So now all I'm left with, in the numerator, I still have 6 radical 2 minus 8. So I have 18 minus 16, which is 2. And you can see that there is no more radical in the denominator. I have one in my numerator, but that's okay. It's just not okay to have radicals in the denominator. We do have to do one last thing. If you notice, each one of these coefficients, these are like terms, right? This is a coefficient or a constant, a constant, a constant, just regular numbers. We can actually divide those. Each one of these is divisible by 2. Alright? So you have to make sure that when you do this, this number can divide into both of the coefficients and not just one of them. So So for example, if this were like a 7, 2 could divide into 6, but 2 would not be able to divide into 7, so you wouldn't be able to simplify any further. But in this case, we can. Both of these constants are divisible by 2. Ignore the radical 2. You don't want to divide that because you can't divide a radical by a constant, by a regular number. They're not like each other. So 6 radical 2 divided by 2 is 3 radical 2. And negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. And these are not like terms, so this is our final answer. Alright, this is the simplified version of our original problem, which was up here.